In today's job market, there's more and more students applying for just a limited number of jobs. It seems the recession is really cutting deep. So how do we stand out as graduates? Join me for real stories, real issues, and real views. This is Real Talk. Welcome to the show. You're watching Real Talk, the show that gets to the heart of current issues that are affecting young people. I'll be your host for the next 40 minutes as we look at how to survive in the current job market during the recession that everyone's facing at the moment, especially from the viewpoint of students who are just recently graduating from university. Now, there's a whole range of issues for us to get through, and I hope that today in the program we'll be giving you at home some practical advice on how to survive in such tough times. Now, first of all, I just want to introduce the panel that we have here. We've got some real experts here in the studio today. First of all, we have Rehan Said, who's a career consultant for CVinterviewjob.com.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We've got Peter Ralph as well, who's coaching and counselling psychologist. Welcome to Real Talk. And Margaret Holbrough, who's a career consultant from Graduate Prospects. So welcome to all of you to the show here today. Now, before we get involved in the actual discussion, I want to take a listen to what ordinary people think about this. So our team went out to Kingston to take a listen to the word on the street.
The dreaded credit crunch. Yes, we've all heard of it, we've all experienced it, we all know the impact it's had on our friends, families and work colleagues. But how's it still affecting us now? People have lost their jobs, their livelihoods, the way of supporting their families. And it is a tough climate. Companies are slashing costs and getting rid of their workforces. And for those about to graduate, the idea of entering a competitive and overcrowded job market must be very daunting indeed. Current estimates show that about 8% of the UK population is unemployed, and that works out to about 2.5 million people. Last year, over 30,000 students graduated university with a first degree, and add to that another 48,000 finishing higher education. With that huge number, all looking for work, competition for the available roles is fierce. So how do we succeed in the current job market? And what can we do to make ourselves really stand out from the crowd? Okay, so you guys are first year students, right? We're in the middle of a recession, the credit crunch has happened. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling the crunch?
I'm definitely feeling it. I mean, I've got pretty much no money. I just got paid today as well. I've only got enough to pay off my expenses, got nothing to go out. I don't get a student loan either.
Okay, so you've got to work in order to fund your own education?
Yeah, I do.
I suppose you've got at least a couple of years left at uni. Are you hoping that by that time that the recession will be over? Are you worried about your job prospects?
I'm not worried about the job prospects. I'm just worried about, as always, the money. It's always the main thing for me.
Are you worried about your job prospects? We are in the middle of a recession. Is this something that concerns you? Are you losing sleep over it?
Not really, no. I've kind of made a point of just getting on with it rather than worrying about it. And it's something you have to consider, but generally when there's a massive newsline pandemic of swine flu or recession or something, it doesn't help that much to spend lots of time worrying about it, just to be aware of its presence and kind of keep it in balance.
You're in your first year, so are you starting to think about job prospects?
That's one of the reasons why I chose to go to uni, to increase, my employability.
And we are in the middle of a recession. You've got a couple of years till you graduate, I suppose, but is it something that you're worried about, sort of the fewer jobs, less industry out there?
Yeah, well, obviously. I mean, right now it's difficult to find a job whilst I'm at uni, but when I finish it will be a hard market to get into, I think, so you do have to try and work as hard as you can to make yourself more employable.
So when you were planning to come here, you thought you'd get a part-time job to help finance your degree and your living costs and that sort of stuff, but it's been difficult.
Yeah, it's really difficult actually. When I was starting in India, I thought I'll be looking at a good job part-time, but after coming here, it's really tough,
Very difficult. I know you're only first-year students, so you've got, I guess, at least a couple of years till you graduate. Are you thinking about your job prospects? Is that something that crosses your mind at all?
Yeah, it's definitely something that's on my mind. I suppose I can say the same for everyone, but we've been in recession for a few years now at least, and I think by the end of my degree in 3 years' time, we should have come out of that by then, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem, I'm hoping.
Has it affected you financially being a student? Like, has it been harder to get a Saturday job or sort of part-time work?
Personally, I was quite lucky. I managed to find a job in a snowboard shop in Kingston, because that's what I love doing, and that fell to me quite easily, but I can't say the same for other people, I guess.
That was Matt there in Kingston getting some views from the students in the local university. So let's start with the discussion. Rehan, let me turn to you first. What did you think about the views there?
I thought they were extremely sort of representative of first year, typical first year graduate students. They've still got a number of years yet to graduate. Job and opportunities are sort of a long way away. So perhaps they're quite comfortable in their zone at the moment. But in terms of graduates who are perhaps graduating, that have graduated this summer, and those who've graduated a couple of years ago, there are real issues for them in terms of getting job opportunities. There's a lack of confidence. So I'd say personally, it's a bit of a mixed view, but I like the optimism in some of those grads. That's the way to go, not to think about the recession and all the doom and gloom stories, but to be optimistic, and that will affect on your confidence as well.
Peter, don't you think it's a bit worrying that some of the students don't actually want to think about the recession? They're just putting it off and pretending it doesn't even exist?
Yeah, I think, as Rohan said, it's indicative of the fact that most of them were in the first year, and what you'll find is that their focus is necessarily on their studies at the moment, really getting to grips with what they're learning, and also just surviving financially from day to day. But yes, as they get towards the end of their degree, then very much they need to focus on the positive and what they can do. And my own personal experience has been that they will probably have some sort of part-time job, so they know that they can survive financially once they finish their studies, but they do have to get down to it straight away. If they leave it a little while, then they're in danger of missing the boat, and their self-confidence will go down then.
We'll touch on that a bit later on. Margaret, what did you think of the views there that we heard?
Yes, I agree with the other two, really, that they've got different priorities at the moment, but as the time goes by and they get closer to their graduation day, I think their thoughts will focus very much on the opportunities and how to find them and how to make the best applications possible. So I think in terms of long-term planning, then those students' attitudes are probably going to change significantly.
Now, obviously, each year there are a number of students who are graduating and going into the job market. From your personal experiences, I mean, is it getting harder for students to find jobs?
Yes, almost certainly. The actual official unemployment figures have been creeping steadily upwards over the last few years. The current situation is that graduates who graduated in 2008, 8.2% of them were unemployed. On the positive side, around about 70% were employed. And the ones that we haven't covered were doing further studying or maybe doing some part-time jobs rather than full-time.
Just another point I wanted to pick up. You actually work for Graduate Prospects.
Yeah.
Could you just give us a brief overview of what you do?
Okay, Graduate Prospects is an online resource. It's actually a huge website, which is partly information, partly advice, partly guidance, and some interactivity. There's an online questionnaire for people who haven't quite decided where their true career direction might lie. There's lots of information about different industries, different job roles that people can undertake, where to find the vacancies when they're interested in particular types of work, and lots of practical advice about job applications, psychometric testing, application forms, CVs, as well as some wider information about working abroad, postgraduate study, where to get the cash to do postgraduate study.
There's a lot to cater, isn't there, after you've just graduated? I mean, Rehan, you're a career consultant, right? So how do you actually go out and advise students once they've graduated from university?
Well, sort of at cvinterviewjob.com, my role is really to provide that guidance and advice to students, but not just to students, to experienced professionals as well. I used to work as a recruitment consultant and worked in that capacity for about 10 years. And I've seen a number of really bad CVs over the years. So I found that some people, they find it very difficult to really write about themselves and do justice to themselves on their CV. So some of the services is to provide a professional CV writing service to them, to critique their CVs, their cover letters, and just to provide general coaching on interview and job search techniques to really maximise their opportunities.